Do you all see that? Okay, wonderful. So, habits of health, it's all about choices. Sorry, making sure that I can actually push the right buttons here. Here we go. So, health is all about choice. And I want you to consider this question. Is there anything in our physical life more important than health? Can you think of anything that's more important than health? We place importance on many things in our lives, including things like our home, the car we drive, our children, our education, or our job, our next vacation. We place great emphasis on these items in our lives. And when we do, we really are doing that for the fulfillment of our lives, our families' lives. But what's the common factor that directly affects our ability to obtain and enjoy the things that we value most? There's one common factor that affects all of obtaining and enjoying all of these things, and that is health. And so as we consider our health and the choices that make up health, there are three main types of choices that we're going to explore this evening and how they relate to achieving our health goals. The first type of choice is fundamental choice. The second type of choice are our primary choices. And the third set of choices are our secondary choices. Now, each of these play an important role in our journey to health, and they act as like a layering upon each other. So the fundamental choice is really the foundation choice. It's the choice upon which all other of our choices rest. Primary choices are the components of health that serve as your goals. And our secondary choices are the actions that you take daily. Your fundamental choice is that base foundation. The primary choices build you to achieving that, and your secondary choices allow you to reach your primary choices. It's a whole layering upon each other. So let's start exploring fundamental choice. Fundamental choice is what defines our state of being. It's where we stand, and it's our true foundation. Once we've made the choice to be healthy, you've actually made it your business to act in accordance with your goal. Just as we're talking about choices, it's our choice to be free and healthy, and it's what we're willing to fight for if we make that fundamental choice. Right now, whatever your circumstances may be, you can make a profound fundamental choice for optimal health. Once you make that choice, then all of your secondary choices and your primary choices are going to be tuned to allowing you to achieve that fundamental choice of optimal health. You're taking full responsibility for your actions when you've made a choice for optimal health. And instead of, you're taking full responsibility for your actions instead of letting circumstances drive your decisions. How many times have you and I, very guilty, let circumstances override the decisions that we know we should be making to reach our health goals? I have let circumstances override my choices. Can you guys, this would be a time when you could unmute yourself if you have an idea of what one of those circumstances could be. Is there a circumstance, an occasion, something that has happened in your health journey or you can see happening in your health journey that would detract you from making the choices?
I'm an emotional eater, and so emotions are circumstances that really throw me off, where I just say, I shut down, I don't want to make a choice. And so if
Yeah.
I'm stressed about something, if I'm mad about something, it's something that I'm working on.
That's a great example of one of those circumstances, of one of those choice detractors. Does anybody else recognize something, a circumstance that affects them or they could see would be affecting them?
I'm a social eater. Being around other people, function, parties, family gatherings, potluck.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Most definitely. I have found that I am a mindless eater. Again, all of our social functions, these days are, centered around food a lot of the times. And, I have found after, starting the program myself that when I'm somewhere, I cannot be by the hors d'oeuvre table or whatever, because I will stand there and mindlessly eat without even, obviously without thinking. And so, but that's one thing that I've learned. I learned to be mindful.
Absolutely. Any others?
Being taken off a schedule. I'm very schedule oriented, and I learned just in the last few days that if I'm not on my normal schedule, I am much more prone to make poor eating choices.
That's an important one. When you knock off your schedule, oh well, then I don't need to do the whole rest of the day. Oh, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. No, one that I've heard often and I've also been guilty of is I'm on vacation, so I don't have to make any choices.
I can just say for myself, all of the above.
Absolutely. There are a few others that I had thought of. Holidays, guests in town, even excuses like I ate the rest because I didn't want it to go bad and be wasteful. All of these are circumstances that we allow ourselves to make the excuses for choosing, a direction that we know doesn't fulfill our goals of reaching optimal health. But it's very important to understand that when you make the fundamental choice for optimal health, you become the author of your own story. And that's very empowering. So how can you make this fundamental choice for yourself? It's truly as simple as thinking about a little question and truthfully answering it. And that question is, do I want to be optimally healthy? When you think about that, you can start visualizing, what does optimal health look like in my life? What am I able to do? What am I able to experience that I'm not able to now? And when you think about that question and can say, yes, I want to be optimally healthy, that's a really big foundation building fundamental choice for your journey. Notice we don't put a restriction on this question and say, is it possible for me to be optimally healthy? This is the question. The question is, do you want optimal health regardless of where you are starting from? And to truthfully answering this question with a resounding yes, you have created that foundation to stand firm upon while creating your primary and your secondary choices. So it all begins with that fundamental choice of accepting that you desire optimal health. Now, one very important thing to note about this is that it has to be your choice. Motivation is a fire from within. If someone else tries to light that fire under you, chances are it will burn very briefly. You have to be the author of your own story. It has to be your choice. So once you've made that fundamental, foundational choice, then come primary choices. Primary choices support your fundamental choice of optimal health. Primary choices are a major choice, and they're something we want more than other things that we may want. So it's not like we can't say we don't want this one thing, but when you've made that fundamental choice, you're going to align your primary choices to want these choices more than these choices. Your primary choices are your most important habits and goals, and they're the foundations of health. These primary choices determine what optimal health means to you. And it's very important to remember that optimal health is not a destination. It's a state of being that you achieve. It's a journey. It's a change in orientation whereby you create a new state of being that revolves around making the daily choices that support health. Optimal health is built on a foundation of behaviors that together create a lifestyle that restores your body and optimizes its ability to function. So we're all at different points in the optimal health journey. It's perfectly normal for your idea of optimal health to look different than the person in the Brady Bunch screen next to you. And once you achieve your current vision of optimal health, it's absolutely normal for you to then redefine what optimal health is to you from that new starting point. So optimal health is an ever-evolving goal depending on your current health state. So let's talk a little bit about creating your primary choices. There's a few tips here for creating these. So the first is that you want to quantify your goals. You want to be specific and include a time frame. So when I think about one of my personal primary choices, is that I want to have great aerobic stamina. I could have said, I want to be able to do aerobic exercise, but I want to quantify it. I want to have great aerobic stamina in 12 months. So I'm putting a timeline on my goal, which allows you to have a defining point, a point where you are goaling towards. If I didn't put that, it could be 4 years from now, and I could still say, I'm still working for some aerobic stamina, but I'm definitely going to push myself and make the choices to get there if I have a time frame. The second is to avoid comparative terms. Here's an example of this. Instead of, I want to get better sleep, it would be more effective to write your primary choice goal as I will get 7 hours of restorative sleep each night. I will get better sleep. If you currently get 4 hours of sleep, well, better sleep could be 4 hours and 15 minutes. Yay, you met your goal. But is that truly a sleep state for optimal health that's going to keep you at your healthiest? So you want to avoid those comparative about getting better at something and really define and quantify that goal. Another tip is to focus on creating health, not on solving a problem. Here's an example of this. Instead of focusing on, I don't want to be short of breath when I walk the dog, it would be more beneficial to write your primary choice goal as I'm walking for half an hour every day and I'm able to talk to my dog the whole time, which kind of sounds like me because I do. Who else out there talks to their dog? So it's better to create the focus on the positive rather than what you're not wanting. You want to focus on what you want to create, not what you want to get rid of. And another tip is to describe an actual result, not a process. Processes come later, but processes are not our primary choices. We're focusing on results with our primary choices. So instead of I will lift weights 3 times a week, it would be more beneficial to write your primary choice goal as I have a lean, toned body. All of these primary choice goals should produce a mental picture of one of the foundational components of health that support optimal health. If you have Dr. A's Habits of Health book, there is a chart on page 30, that has a little chart here about the foundations of health. When you are looking to create your primary choices, dependent on choosing optimal health as your fundamental goal or choice, this little chart would be very beneficial to look over, and it allows you to see that the foundations of health are far-reaching. There's healthy weight, there's sleep, there's an active lifestyle, there's relaxation, there's creating a support system. All of these items would be very beneficial to review and create primary choice goals in relation to as you design your own goals. Okay. So primary choices support your fundamental choices for optimal health, and they will dictate the secondary choices that you make daily. So secondary choices are the action steps that we take to support our primary choices. They're where the rubber meets the road. Secondary choices are the day-to-day behaviors that over time build your path to optimal health. And these actions may not be fun. It's really important to understand this. They may not be what we want to choose, but they are vital to reaching our primary goals to support our overall fundamental goal of optimal health. Knowing how to determine what's primary and therefore what's secondary enables you to rise above any situation, no matter how hard that situation is, to support your greater good. So, in fact, the relationship between primary and secondary choices is the key to discipline. Once you know how to manage this relationship, you'll be able to accomplish more than you ever thought imaginable. Once you have a grasp on how your secondary choices build you to your reaching your primary choices, you will find yourself more disciplined. You will find yourself having more willpower, and you will find yourself reaching your goals. So, secondary choices also take us out of the realm of luck. They really make it possible for us to reach our goals no matter how far away they seem. Dr. Anderson gives a fantastic example of secondary choices taking us to where we want to be in his book. And I'm just going to give you a quick review of his story. This is the golfer that you see. This is Jack Nicklaus. And Dr. A speaks of a time when he was at a golf club with his friend. He saw Jack Nicklaus and a colleague shooting golf balls. And they had this huge basket of golf balls. They were taking swing after swing after swing. And they were hitting, I believe he said about 80 to a flag about 80 yards away. And every time Jack Nicklaus and his colleague swung their club, that ball was hitting within a few feet of this flag, about 80 yards away. And Dr. Anderson watched them do about 36 balls. They were all hitting there. And it was time for Dr. Anderson and his colleague to go play their round of golf. So they left. Well, Dr. Anderson and his colleague, they played. They got back to the area where they saw Mr. Nicklaus practicing. Hours later, and Jack Nicklaus and his colleague were still there doing the exact same swing. And now there were hundreds of balls covering that exact same few feet around the flag, about 80 yards away. And Dr. Anderson just said, well, there's no wonder that Jack Nicklaus is at the top of his game. There's no wonder that he is achieving his goal of becoming a world-class golfer. He's putting in those actions to make it happen. It would be the same thing if, if you wanted to be a world-class violinist. If it's your desire, if it's your fundamental goal to be a world-class violinist, when you get home from school or work or whatever it may be, you're going to pick up that violin and practice. It's the same thing with our choices regarding our health. If we choose optimal health as our foundational, as our fundamental choice, then we are going to then make the primary choices to back that up and then take the actions to do it, even if they're not the most fun thing that we would like to be doing at that time. Okay, so you wonder, okay, I've got these choices that I need to make. How can I really start making these choices? We have a tool for that. And our tool is called a structural tension chart. You may have seen this before. This may be your first introduction to our structural tension. And so we're going to take it step by step. And I have actually made this structural tension chart personally as for my aerobic stamina goal. And we're going to be going through this here. If you'll see at the bottom of the chart is your current reality. At the top of your chart is what your goal and your vision is that you're wanting to achieve. And in the middle are going to be the action steps that you're going to list to take or to accomplish that goal. So first is making the choice for that fundamental, making the fundamental choice of optimal health. Second is to identify a primary choice. For me, that is great aerobic stamina. And so the secondary choices to this are going to be the actions I will take to reach my goal. So I started with my current reality and I filled it in at the bottom. So on a structural tension chart, you start with where you are. So my current reality was I was out of breath after jogging about a third of a mile. I had to switch to walking at that point. I don't feel very strong, and I'm able to walk 3 miles in an hour and a half. So your current reality is simply where you are at that moment in time. And I also wanted to note, I dated my current reality. That was January 2014. So then I filled in my goal and my vision. I want aerobic stamina to run a 5K, to bike 15 miles in 1 hour or less, and to complete 1 hour of Zumba without feeling out of breath by March of 2015. So I stated specific goals, and I put a time frame on it. Then I went and said, okay, to get from my current reality to my goal and my vision, what am I going to have to do? So what are my secondary choices? So the actions that I'm going to have to take, I started at the bottom and I started filling in. I would ride my bike for 1 hour or more 3 times a week. I would go jogging and walking for 1 hour or more 2 times a week. I would accomplish jogging 1 complete mile. And then I'm going to accomplish jogging 1.5 complete miles, and then 2 miles, and then 2.5 complete miles, and then 3 miles, which would take me very, very close to a 5K. And also, I decided because I wasn't feeling very strong, I needed to develop those muscles as well. And so I wanted to do strength exercises 3 times per week for about half an hour. So as I developed those secondary choices, I started putting, for the date completed, a few of these are going to be ongoing. And then one I actually got to mark down as completed just this last week. So Let me give you an example. I started in January 2014 realizing I was out of breath after a third of a mile, and I didn't like that. I wasn't improving my running distance. So I started training, started doing this, doing these secondary actions. And by 6/16, took me 6 months, but that's okay. I finally completed the 1 mile mark. So I get to mark that off. Am I done? Absolutely not. Now I'm going to work towards the 1.5 complete miles, and I will definitely be shouting that out when I reach it. But do you see how this structural tension chart can help you focus on what your reality is, what your desired outcome is, and how you are going to achieve that? Just to note, I can definitely tell you that the secondary choices are not my top choices for doing throughout the week. I would much rather be doing a lot of things. I would much rather be sitting on the couch sometimes, wishing that I could run a 5K. But because of making that fundamental choice and then creating the choices to do it, I'm actually making it happen. Okay. By the way, that structural tension chart is available to anybody that would like it, a blank copy of it. And so if you would like that structural tension chart, please contact the person that invited you to the meeting. So one other very important thing that we should mention about making these choices is really about freeing yourself from yourself and quieting the negative self-talk. Self-talk can sabotage your progress. And this is kind of what self-talk looks like. I can't do this. I'm so stressed out. I failed in the past. Nothing's ever worked. It's very important to make sure that your worst enemy is not living between your own ears. So what is negative self-talk? It's the constant chatter in your head that keeps telling you how you're doing, who you should be, what you should do, how you should be better, how you aren't going to succeed, how you're failing, how you could have done something better. Oftentimes, this self-talk actually creates your reality, and it's often a false reality, but you're subconsciously putting yourself in a place because of your self-talk. If you constantly tell yourself you'll never lose weight, chances are you won't. If I constantly tell myself that I will never run a mile, I wouldn't have run a mile last week. So let's talk about letting go of your concepts. Keeping your focus on your primary choices are going to guide you through whatever life throws at you. We all have problems. Please raise your hand if you don't have problems. I really doubt any hands are going up, including my own. Okay, we all have problems, but no matter how many problems we solve, there's always going to be more to take their place. We will never be in a perfect place for change. We'll never be in a perfect place for achieving our goals and believing that we can do it. Okay, but no matter how many, the point is, solving problems doesn't take you closer to your goal. Focusing on what you want to create will allow you to reach your goals. So it's important to limit the effect that your concepts, beliefs, and problems have on your life, because these things distract you from creating what you really want. So look at this illustration. Think of your concepts as that heavy stone that you're holding onto while you're treading water. You're exhausted, and soon you are going to drown, but you're still holding on to the concepts. They are weighing you down. They are exhausting you. If you simply let go of the concepts, they're going to drop to the bottom. You're going to float to the top, and you're finally going to be able to get out of the lake and get onto the path to optimal health? So let's do a little exercise here. I want everybody to look down at the floor. Down at the floor, those are your concepts. Okay, imagine all those concepts. I've never been able to do it before. I am an emotional wreck. I am a mindless eater. I am not a runner. All those concepts are down on the floor. Now, everybody look up at the ceiling. Up at the ceiling is your fundamental choice of optimal health. While you are looking at the ceiling, can you see the floor? Can you see your concepts? No. If we focus on our goals, on what we want to create, optimal health, we're going to be looking up. We're going to be looking at that as our goal, is what we want to create. And we're not going to be able to see those concepts. And we're going to let them go. I just couldn't resist. And it's been a long time now. No, I'm just kidding. We've got to learn to let those concepts go. No matter where you're starting from, you can start from there. You can let your concepts go, and you can absolutely achieve what you want to. So let me give you my own personal example. So it's my example of my aerobic progress, okay? I have always considered myself a person who was bad at running. I'm an awful runner, I would say to myself. While on this journey of health improvement, I was walking one day, and who else talks to themselves when they walk? I hope I'm not alone. But thank you, Rich. And anybody else that couldn't see that, raise their hand. Okay, so I was walking at a local park, and all of a sudden my voice popped into my head, and it said, "Hey, Karen, you should run across that bridge you're coming up to." And me, my other self, that's actually me, said, "What in the world are you talking about, Karen? Karen don't run. That's not something Karen does." And the other Karen said to me, "No, seriously, you're getting stronger. You're starting to really improve with your health. You should run across that bridge." And I listened to myself, and I did. At that point in time, I let go of a concept that I'm not a runner. Even if it was the short bridge, it didn't matter. I ran, and I liked that I was at that point where I was running. And so if I had continued to let this concept live in my head, I would never allow myself to be a runner. Not consider myself a runner, allow myself to be a runner. I would focus, So instead of focusing on the floor, which was my concept that I'm an awful runner, I decided to focus on the desire and the goal, which is that primary choice that I have to build aerobic stamina. And so this leads me to take those secondary actions of getting off the couch and going running and biking. It means that when I'm out running, I'm not constantly telling myself, "Karen doesn't run. What are you doing, Karen? Karen doesn't run." I'm not letting that concept back into my brain. I'm telling myself that yesterday I got this far, so today I can get a little bit farther. And though it may be slow, it's happening. We often are very impatient people, myself big time included, but with time and making the choices day after day to support our fundamental choice, which then creates our primary choices, which then builds our secondary choices, we will see that improvement that we desire. So here is the the whole ceiling and floor in a little visualization here. So in the middle is our current reality. Below us, those beliefs, those concepts, those problems. If you look down and focus on your self-limiting beliefs, problems, and concepts, you'll be distracted from your goal. But if you go from your current reality and you look up at your vision, your desire, and your goal, you're going to stay focused on your goal. You can minimize your self-limiting beliefs, problems, and concepts, and you're actually going to reach your goals. So giving recognition to a belief that's holding you back really doesn't serve your ability to create what you want. By ceasing to give that concept energy, you'll begin to eliminate its influence on your goal. And if you've made the choice of optimal health, your daily choices are going to reflect that, and you won't be as inclined to give in to the temptations that slow your progress. So in summary, for this evening's lesson, it was about making the fundamental choice for optimal health is going to be the foundation that you base your primary and your secondary choices by. There's a tool that we use called structural tension that can allow us to identify our current reality, our primary choice goals, and the secondary choice actions that are going to allow you to achieve them. And letting go of our current concepts and focusing on what we want to create is key to our success. I really hope that everybody has enjoyed this evening's lesson. I know that it was pretty eye-opening as I really dove into it to explore it, to teach it this evening. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Karen, I just wanted to, oh, I'm sorry, was somebody going to say something? I just wanted to say that it's interesting that as we were talking about, you know, the circumstances that get in our way for making healthy choices. You know, I was talking about being an emotional eater and vacations and, you know, all the things that we talked about. One of the things that kind of struck me as you went through the lesson is that reaching a goal weight can be one of those things, you know, because thinking that I've arrived, you know what, I'm done, you know, and I think that understanding that our goal is not reaching the goal weight, that we have a fundamental choice of becoming healthy, that helps us understand that reaching our goal weight is just a very exciting and happy milestone, but never the finish line. I loved how you talked about optimal health as a state of being. It's not a destination that we're going to arrive at. Yeah. And so when we understand that, then we always have something to strive for. You know, for you, it's to run a 5K. And then once you run a 5K, I bet you anything, you're going to say, I want to run a 10K. And then I want to run a half marathon. It's really not going to stop there. And that has nothing to do with weight. And what's interesting is that a lot of times people come into this program. Why did you come into this program?
To lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what is to lose weight? Is that a fundamental choice, or is that a primary choice, or is that a secondary choice?
That would be to reach a healthy weight would be a primary choice.
Yeah. And so that ignores the whole fundamental thing. And I think that the fundamental choice and acknowledging that and making it real and really visualizing it, what you asked was, what does optimal health mean? You know, what does that look like to you? Maybe even creating a vision board like Patricia talked about last week, you know, gives us something to really hone in on, and we're moving towards that and not running away from, I want to lose weight. You know, I lost the weight, I'm done now, and then moving backwards. So thank you so much for going through that. It just highlights the importance of that sequence.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments?
No, Karen, it was great. I loved with the whole activity of looking down at your concepts and looking up. You're right. You can't focus on your concepts when you're looking at your goals. So that was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. I'm so pleased that you were able to make it on. Next week. Oh, wait a second, Donnie, is next week?
Next week is celebration week. We're going to be celebrating accomplishments, and Empower Hour. And so we would love to hear your story. If you're willing to share, please connect with your health coach, because we get inspired by your stories every week, and can't wait to share it with everybody else.
Absolutely. And that is, again, just like our Habits of Health lesson, you are free to invite your friends. You are free to invite your family. Anybody you know can join us here for both the Habits of Health lessons and the Empower Hours. We just want to spread that it's a possibility to anybody. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen. Bye.